Um, Hi, hello everyone, and good afternoon or evening to you all. It's good to see you again. My name is Stephen. Just to introduce what's happening. So today, obviously the topic is gender inclusivity. This is the third in a series of webinars that are being presented as part of the Female Voices project, so that we can kind of promote female teachers and the work that they are doing around Africa. So we've had sessions on intercultural understanding and multilingualism, which you can find on the site already. And today we're going to be talking about gender. I'm very glad that you're all here. And today is a little bit different because there will be multiple presenters presenting on this topic. The first of the presenters who can't join us because of internet difficulties is Kalkidan Tilahun. She's a teacher with over 6 years of experience, and she works in a school in Ethiopia, and she's a member of the Ethiopian English Language Professional Association of English Teachers, and she's certified in lots of different kind of British Council training that she's done. Also, before I hand over to the other presenters, there is another teacher who cannot make it, but she has kindly sent a recording in to share with you, and this is Reem, and she's also an English teacher with over 2 years of experience in teaching in language institutes in Sudan. She has a strong interest in gender equality and studies, and is dedicated to promoting and creating an inclusive learning environment for all her students. Okay, so I'll pass it on now to the other speakers. So each of you one by one. So ma'am, could you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah. Hi, Stephen.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. I am Mam Kuna Diao, an EFL teacher in Ziguinchor, Senegal. 15 years of experience. I am a PhD researcher on ecofeminism, and I'm really very honored to co-present this webinar today at the beginning of what we call Women's Month, that is March, talking about gender, how to promote gender inclusivity in our classes. Welcome everybody for attending this webinar. Okay, so my topic is girls and STEAM science.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And then Jacqueline as well. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, can you all see me? My name is Jacqueline Naika, and I am an English teacher in South Africa, Durban Girls Secondary. I've taught for over 20 years. I have a background in media and communications and linguistics, and I'm really passionate about gender issues and inspiring students to empower others with what has been shared with them. And I'm so excited to be doing this webinar and sharing my experiences in the classroom to also inspire gender inclusivity in your classrooms. Thank you.
Okay, and Fatih?
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this session. I am Fatih Amadounia from Senegal, teacher of English at the Sédhiou Bala Moussa Daffé High School. I have been teaching English for 13 years now. Now talking about gender, the gender issue, why am I interested in the gender issue? It is to avoid discrimination against any gender identity for a more effective teacher learning process, and also an inclusive gender participation. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, and finally, Christiana. Christiana, are you there?
Sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Christiana Ajaus. I'm a Nigerian. I'm a teacher trainer, a consultant, an editor, a writer, and I'm very passionate about gender inclusivity in the classroom. I'm super excited to share my experiences with you. Thank you very much.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much, Christiana. Thanks all for introducing yourself. Now we'll quickly move on to the aims of the sessions. So, Patty, would you like to go over?
Okay. Thank you, Steve. You have the session aim here. By the end of this session, you will have a good grasp of the concept of gender inclusivity, definition of gender inclusivity, then knowledge and the importance and benefits of gender inclusivity in the classroom, and then you will have tips to integrate gender inclusivity in the classroom. Then you have strategies and tips to integrate gender inclusivity in your classroom. Then you have practical activities that can be used in the English language classroom to promote gender inclusivity. So we'll present at the end of different activities you can go in our.
What is gender inclusivity? When you hear the term gender inclusivity, what word comes to your mind? Share us on the comment box. So when you say gender inclusivity, it is acting, speaking, and writing in the way that doesn't discriminate against a particular sex, social gender, or gender identity, and does not perpetuate gender stereotypes. Let's take this concept into our classroom as a teacher. So it will be creating an environment where all students, regardless of their gender, identity, or expression, feel respected, valued, and important. What do you think about using inclusive language? This involves using both inclusive language, addressing each of our students by their preferred names and pronouns, providing diverse representation and teaching materials, and promoting an atmosphere of understanding and acceptance for all gender identities. Let me share you the next questions so you can please share us your ideas.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Here are the arguments for being gender inclusivity. So I invite participants to try to read the definition and try to guess what is the word corresponding to this definition. Use the chat box and write your answer. Yeah, it's here. The answers are here. The first one, respect, you got it. Okay, equality, ensuring everyone has the same opportunities and right. That's what we said. No discrimination. Everybody should be equal regardless of their gender identity. Whether you are male or female in the classroom, there should be no discrimination. All differences should be included in what you do in the classroom. Okay, justice, fighting discrimination and stigma. Okay, legal and human rights. Okay, that means that individuals' rights and self-identity should be respected, should be considered in the classroom. Well-being refers to really access to support services such as healthcare, education, creating a safe and supportive learning environment that will foster really motivation among learners. Economic benefits, okay, this may go outside the classroom, meaning in the workplaces, okay, they should be attractive, okay. Talent should be fostered and innovation. Thank you very much for your answers.
Thanks. Thanks, Ma, for contributing. So we'll quickly move on to Jacqueline. Jacqueline, over to you.
Hi, I hope everyone can see me now.
Yes, we can see you perfectly. Please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. All right. Good evening, everyone. I want to talk about, thank you so much, Ma'am, for going through those wonderful reasons on why we need to be gender inclusive. But I want to talk specifically about why we should be gender inclusive in the English classroom. And I want to hear your thoughts. Why do you think it's so important that we should be inclusive, gender inclusive in the English classroom? Let's hear some comments. Why do you think it should be the job of the English teacher to bring this gender inclusivity into the classroom first? Any ideas?
Yep, start to get some in the chat.
Very good. It will be a cultural influence on women. I'm seeing also it's to foster balance in learning, to create good, positive vibes in the classroom. Good. Any other comments? All right. We want to create a safe space, yes, to get the same job opportunities in the future. Well, yes, to ensure equity, to foster communications, and also language is a powerful tool to be able to change the way we view gender. That's right. So even to enhance this balance in learning, that we want everyone to receive the same value of or quality of education, and to give equal opportunity, and to also increase the numbers of reading, those who are literate. We have mixed culture students with different ideas on gender, yes, so we want to make them inclusive. We want to bring about collaboration in class. We want to increase participation and involve all wonderful answers coming through on the chat. Yes, we definitely want to create inclusivity. Right. So thank you all for those answers, and also to respect with information. Now, these are just some of the things that the reasons, and it incorporates many of the reasons that you all spoke about. So teaching gender diversity is very important because we want to create a safe and respectful classroom environment for all students, not just one gender. And I think by using language or teaching gender inclusivity in the English classroom, we give the opportunity to improve communication amongst our students. Also, language learning promotes empathy and understanding. Sometimes while we're reading these different comprehensions and we're trying to answer, please mute mics. Thank you so much. Okay. So while we're learning in the classroom and we have these different comprehensions that show different ideas on gender, show different thoughts, it makes students understand these other cultures, other views, other genders, and gender inclusivity so much more, and to have empathy for them, because sometimes we don't understand something or have empathy for it if we've never been exposed to it. Then the next reason is to teach students about gender neutral language. Now, we do it all the time, and sometimes we don't even realize we say things like chairman of the board and businessman. Now, all of those things may seem very normal in our society, but it actually has a greater impact because it implies that those types of jobs, like to chair a meeting, or to, yes, even cameraman, to chair a meeting, or to be owning a business, is something that's male related. It's in the male domain. And we know that that is not the case in our world. And how will students know that if we don't teach them language that is neutral, that allows for inclusivity of so many different, careers, and to show them that instead of saying chairman, you say chairperson. Instead of saying businessman, you talk about entrepreneurs or business owners. It becomes easier and it also challenges stereotypes in their world. We need to also allow students to challenge traditional stereotypes. In the classroom, it becomes easier to discuss these things, and they see different points of view. In the home, it's very difficult for them to challenge stereotypes that boys are supposed to be one way and girls are supposed to be the other because they feel they're being disrespectful. But in the classroom, we have a more open and safer environment to discuss conflicting views. We argue with each other, but we respect each other's opinion. Can I ask that mic is muted? Thank you so much. All right. And then we also have the wonderful idea of incorporating literature. You see, through books and characters in books and poems and different pieces of writing and articles, students are exposed to different gender ideas, to gender diversity, and it helps them to see see and hear different voices and perspectives, and it makes them feel more empathetic and understanding towards it, especially when we come from cultures where we live in Africa, on the continent, where patriarchal values are still very strongly entrenched, and sometimes our learners only know the way of what they've been taught at home. But once they read about these characters, once they hear these voices in poems, the voice of women wanting freedom, the voice of women who've been abused, the voice of males who also are not being, given the identity that they need, then they will feel empathy towards them and try to understand and change their own views because of what they're exposed to in the classroom. Also, finally, evaluating and analyzing gender relationships and attitudes to them through these English resources actually helps students get into a more comfortable space to share who they are. I don't know whether you realize that some students can't even share their dreams and hopes openly in the communities that they live in. But by giving them the opportunity in the English classroom to write essays and to start journaling and to write transactional pieces like letters and reports and do things where they express themselves and what they want to become, then we actually give them the opportunity to contradict the stereotypes they've grown up with. They are able to see on a greater basis what they could become, especially for young females. Seeing literature where a young female could become a pilot or could become president or could take on jobs that in their community is deemed as male-dominated becomes so exciting for a young female. And it allows them to dream bigger dreams. It allows them to open up the scope of ambitions that they actually have. And that is what we want, a world where men and women work together and everybody is inclusive. Now I'm going to go hand over to Kalkidan to continue. Thank you.
Hope you're getting great things from our session today. So let's see general strategies for promoting gender inclusion. Have you ever asked yourself how to make your classroom more gender inclusive? My first tip is going to be preparing such trainings and workshops to educate and have awareness. Then we can see creating inclusive policies that promote gender equality and diversity in recruitment, promotions, and decision-making process. So the other one could be providing equal opportunities, resources, and benefits regardless of gender. How many of us apply this in our classroom? Ask yourself. The fourth strategy would be foster inclusive culture. So we can cultivate a workplace culture which values and respects diverse perspectives, experience, and identities. Addressing unconscious bias is the other one. We can offer trainings to recognize and minimize unconscious biases that may affect decision-making and interactions. You would be to support work-life balance. This is to provide flexible work arrangements, parental leave, and support service to accommodate diverse family responsibilities. Promote female leadership is the other one. Just encourage and support women leadership's development through mentorship, sponsorship, and career advancement programs. The next one would be challenging stereotypes and gender norms. This is the basic one as well. It might be in marketing, advertising, and media representations. The next one is uniting men. Involve the men as align and gender inclusion efforts, and encourage them to advocate for equality and let them challenge the harmful behaviors. My last strategy is measure the progress, regularly assess and track progress on gender diversity and inclusion initiatives, and adjust strategies as needed to ensure effectiveness. Thanks a lot. I'm done here. Let's continue with my other colleagues. Have a good time.
We have just listened to Kalkidan talk about the general strategies for promoting gender inclusion in the classroom. Now, I'll be talking about specific strategies that we can use to promote gender inclusivity in the classroom. So I want you to think of any strategy you think, that can help us promote inclusivity in the classroom. Please write in the chat. If you can think of anyone, write it in the chat. Specific strategy that we can use to promote gender inclusivity in the classroom. Anybody?
We get some comments in the chat.
Yeah. Role play activities. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Any other? Thank you, Mabel, for that. Any other? Role plays. Thank you, Martina. Training in gender issues. Thank you. Abiodu, group work. Beautiful. Work in pairs, project games. Wonderful. Yeah, thank you very much. Group work. Thank you all. Yes. So looking at strategic strategies for promoting gender inclusivity, one of it would be to create inclusive learning environments by putting students in mixed groups. And when we talk about mixed groups, we mean mixed groups of boys, girls, fast learners, slow learners, extroverts, introverts. That helps them to work together collaboratively as a group. You know that when we teach students generally in class, there's this competition. Everyone is competing to be the first or the best. But when we put them in group or in groups, it enables them to, operate at a level playing ground. So everyone is able to contribute his or her own quota towards the collective success of the group, not individual. So it's very important that we do that. We put our students in groups to enable them work together as a team. So this encourages inclusive participation by all. The another thing we can do is to create a safe space for diverse opinions and perspectives by encouraging everyone to air their views without being punished, even when they are wrong. We should always try to give constructive criticism and feedback. What happens in this climate in Nigeria where we are, most teachers, unfortunately, are good at criticizing and shouting down their, learners. You ask a question, a student gets up to, respond. Maybe gives you the wrong answer. Rather than encourage the student, we usually shout at them. You sit down, you idiot, or Lodo, you don't know anything. That discourages students a lot. It prevents them from, participating fully. So we must endeavor to avoid such. Rather, even when a student gives you a wrong answer, look for something nice. You can praise that learner. But even the boldness to stand up to say something, you should even commend the student on that, or maybe the way the student pronounced the answers and all of that. So we should always look for something, no matter how small, to, praise a student for, no matter the answer they've given. This will encourage them even to participate next time. Very important. So another thing we can do also is to create a safe space for diverse opinions and perspectives by encouraging everyone to air their views, without punishing them and all of that. Then use gender-responsive teaching and learning methodologies that ensures all students feel valued and respected by using encouraging words, even when they have made a mistake. And some of these methodologies includes project work, discussions, role play, as some people already mentioned, role play, and such activities will encourage students to participate effectively in class. Then we should also ensure that we distribute questions and praises equally. Generally, what happens here is that many times the teachers tend to praise boys for correct answers and then girls for good behavior. We must be conscious of this and try to create a balance by praising equally. We should ensure that we praise the students equally for both good behaviors and correct answers. We should also distribute our questions evenly. Most of the time when we ask questions, you see that it's the boys that are usually the first to raise their hands. We must not always jump at, calling on them to respond to our questions. We should also encourage the girls. You can call on them to, respond. And at that point, even if they give you a wrong answer, please do not reprimand them. Rather, encourage them, praise them for whatever little thing they have done right. Very important. So we need to do all of that, distribute our praises, questions, and all of that. We should make sure that we do these things in a way as to ensure that everyone feels valued, everyone feels respected, and willing to contribute to whatever it is we're doing in class. Please, can I have the next slide?
And see the slide?
Okay. Yeah. So another thing we can do is to make our lessons more interactive and engaging. Bearing in mind that some topics and activities are said to be gender specific. For example, football or sports is said to be for boys, while fashion, cooking for girls. So to ensure that you have a balance in your class, endeavor to bring up female football clubs and teams, as well as players, whenever you teach football, so that the female members of your class will not feel left out. They will see also that there are female players, female clubs, and all that, so that will encourage them to participate in your class. Also, if you are teaching maybe fashion or cooking, which is said to be for women, remember also to bring male, there are, renowned male chefs around, or male who are into fashion. Also try to get their pictures and their names to let the let the boys in the class know that men can also be found doing such activities, that is not really for women alone. So all of this will help to create a balance in your classroom. Then review teaching materials beforehand and ensure to adapt materials that are gender biased and stereotypes in language, content, and images in a way to suit inclusive participation in the class. So before you enter the class to teach, while you are preparing your lessons, you look at the materials you have, because most of the time you see that there are, because of gender stereotypes, some professions are said to be for male while others are for female. So what you do is that go out of your way to get pictures and images of maybe women in medicine, women astronauts, women firefighters, and so on, so as to show the men also, to show the women in your class that they too can, aspire to be in such professions. And then if you are teaching maybe something related to caregiving nurses and all of that, which are said to be for female. Also look for images and pictures of males who are in that profession, so as to encourage everyone to participate effectively, so as not to discriminate that this profession is for boys, this is for men. It's also very important that we do all of this in our class to ensure that there is a balance. Let everyone in the class know that anybody can aspire to, to excel in any profession, irrespective of gender. Gender has nothing to do with profession one chooses or excels in. It all depends on choice, interest, and the resilience that we, put into ensuring that we arrive at such destinations that we aspire for. So it's very important. Like you can see in the pictures, there are some pictures of some of these professions. So we should always ensure that we do all of this with our teaching materials. So thank you very much. This is where I hand over to the next presenter. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And while I play the video for Reem, who is also unfortunately not here, I'll just drop the question in the chat. It's a question from Reem, and if you could just answer the question while I play the video. And the question is, what language could be changed in the classroom to make it more gender inclusive? So any use of language, any terms that you think could be changed in the classroom to make it more gender inclusive. So
sorry, is the question for me? Is the question for me?
No, it's for the audience actually.
Okay.
It's for the audience. Just why I subscribe, right, and bring you right. Thanks so much, Christiana.
Hello.
Yes,
Steve?
yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can
Are you expecting me to say something?
No.
Because the camera is on me, so I want to know. I can answer it if you want me to, but maybe at the end of the presentation.
Yes, I'm actually going to play the recording from Reem, where she'll be answering that question with few examples about what sort of language could be changed. So I'm quickly gonna play Reem's video.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on gender inclusivity in the classroom. My name is Reem Rayah. I'm a Sudanese English-speaking teacher and a passionate reader of gender studies. In today's society, it's very important to be mindful and considerate of the language we use and how it can impact others. You might ask, how language could be changed in the classroom to make it more gender inclusive? Here are some tips and strategies for you. Number 1, instead of assuming someone's gender and using pronouns like he or she, we can use the gender-neutral pronoun they. If we don't know the person's gender, we can simply refer to them by their name. This small change can make a big difference in creating a more inclusive and welcoming environment for all individuals. Secondly, when it comes to titles, we can use gender-neutral terms like MX or Doctor instead of using Mr. or Mrs. Also, avoiding using gender job titles and opt for more gender-neutral terms, like instead of saying fireman or policeman, we can use firefighter or police officer. We're referring to a group of people instead of defaulting to terms like guys or ladies and gentlemen. We can use more inclusive ones, such as everyone or folks. Finally, it's very important not to make assumptions about someone's gender when discussing work-related tasks or rules. It's crucial to use language that encompasses all individuals, such as referring to them with terms like person or someone. By avoiding gendered language, we can ensure that everyone feels respected and valued.
Thanks so much for watching this extract from Reem. So we quickly move on to Map, actually. Map, are you ready to take over the next bit?
Yeah, Steve.
Sure, let me just share my screen, then I'll just share the slide so you can see.
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Steve. For this activity, you have 4 female scientists, 4 African female scientists, and you have their names. So now what you're asked to do is just to match the pictures with the name and write the answers in the box. You have Salimata Wade, Fatima Jarna, Camila Nigmatulina, Catherine Goodman. So all of them are famous female African scientists. Okay, you match A, B, C, D with their names in the box. Let's go. 1 is B, yes. C is Fatima. 1 is B, Ibrahima. Yeah, good. 1 is B. Okay, yes. 1 is B. And what about 2? Fatima. Is it A, C, or D? B. 2 is, yeah, 1 is B. 9. 2 is, yes. Number 4 is A. Okay, good. Can we share the answer? Yes. 1 is B from Senegal, yes. 2 is A. C is 3 is C and 4 is D. Okay. The South African scientists, Chadian, Senegalese, African scientists. Okay, thank you very much. This is very important because it really encourages young girls to know who are the female African scientists, and maybe they may admire them, and this can really help them be encouraged in scientific streams. Okay. Good, Steve. I think we can move to the next slide. The next one is different activities. So this is an example of a lesson plan that we can have as far as female scientists is concerned. Okay, this lesson plan is composed of 4 stages. We start with a warm-up activity where you show images of 4 African female scientists and 4 names, and ask the learners to match the pictures with the names. Okay, so the purpose of this is just to make them increase their general knowledge on maybe female scientists and encourage young girls to be engaged in mathematics, engineering, etc., in STEAMs in general. Stage 2 is a pre-reading activity. So you can ask learners to tell you as many jobs as they know, as they can, and write them on the board. Then you ask them to categorize these jobs into male and female careers, because as Jacqueline said, in our classrooms, most of the time, when you ask the questions, many young girls think that there are specific jobs, specific careers for boys and specific for men. And here it's really important to tell them what's the difference between gender and sex. Okay, so as sex is innate and gender is acquired. Okay, so it is really the social roles that society have given to us. Okay, so they should know that even if there are male jobs and female jobs, there are other jobs that they can do better. So they discuss if there are male and female jobs. Okay. Stage 2, the next stage is the reading phase. So you divide learners into different teams, different groups, and give a text to each of them. So the texts are available in the as resources. So we have different texts that you're going to give to each group. Then you read the text, ask them to read the text and take their keynotes. Okay? Tell them to exchange now their notes and check answers with peers. So by doing this, you are in really inclusivity because no one is excluded. Everybody is involved in finding answers. Sometimes when you ask to do group works, girls may feel that the right answers should come from boys. Okay, so this is the time now to explain to them that they have really to show their courage, to show their intelligence, that no one is more intelligent than the other. Okay, so they share their answers with peers and perform, okay, in which the teacher really helped them with additional vocabularies and so on. And the last stage will be a follow-up activity. So you can give learners a homework in which they can make further research, in which they can find other African female scientists they admire and maybe write a presentation for the next class. Okay, so this is the lesson plan I wanted to share with you. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks so much, Mom. So we'll just move on to Fatih, who will also be sharing her activity as well. We shared the link to Mom's activity in the chat. But over to you, Fatih.
Okay, thank you, Steve, for having given me the floor again. I think that we are running over time. I will just do a brief presentation of my activity. Now, my activity is based on female activism, and I would like to show the picture, if possible, asking people to interpret what they can see on the picture. Okay, so what can you see on this picture? You can put it on the chat. How can you interpret this picture? What? So people, what they can see on this picture, you have on the screen, you have 3 dolls, women, yeah, quite interesting. Thank you. Okay, female. Okay, yes, we did it. Celebrating. Okay, when sounds. Okay, interesting. Okay, so your answers, very interesting answers. So from this picture, what we see, as you said a while ago, we have women. So here you have a kind of process, a kind of advocating for something, because when we talk about female activism, it is a kind of protesting or fighting against inequalities in the society for women, etc. Now, female activism, what is the objective of this activity? You have female activism is an activity which enables learners to develop their reading skills first. So the first aim of this activity is to help the students to develop their reading skills. And after this picture, it is just a kind of brainstorming, okay, for the teacher to can have the word activism from the students. Then the stage 1 is still in the pre-reading phase. You can also show a picture of a well-known female activist in your society or in your country that the students can identify easily, so they can get the word activism and try to define it to get the definition of the word activism. And then after that, you check their understanding by asking concept-checking questions. Like, when you are an activist, would you like to change the things or keep them the same? Do you know any other activists? All this you need to check students' understanding. And then you can give examples of female activists like Malala Yousafzai in Pakistan, who was advocating for girls' education. And also you can have the example of Wangari Maathai in Kenya, who was fighting for the protection of the environment. Okay, so you can have many examples of female advocating for social inequalities or protecting the environment, etc. Then elicit the goals of activism. Okay, you tell the students what are, or you discuss about the goals of the activism and the different challenges we activists face. Because when we take the example of Malala Yousafzai, she was shot as an attempt of assassination. So all this can be as an example of challenges female activists can face in the different activities. Stage 2, reading. Here you have the wide reading activity. Reading for gifts. Give the learners a text. And ask them to match a title. And I want to be long, so then you go. We have 4 stages. Okay, stage 1, stage 2, and stage 4. And at the end, maybe ensure gender mixed groups to create and research and present it. And also that answers and feedback is taken from a variety of learners at the end of the lesson. Encourage your learners, especially female ones, to be active citizens by defending and protecting the environment of their school, for instance. Okay, my aim is, for example, in the area I am teaching, is to introduce responsive teaching materials to encourage girls to stay at the school, because it is a region where girls drop out of school at a very young age. Now presenting them as moms, leaders, female pioneers, like female scientists, showing that women are doing wonderful jobs, can do and are doing wonderful jobs in this world. And what would the world be if they were not doing so? Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Tati, for also sharing your activity. Again, we've shared the link to the activity in the chat. But being conscious of time, we'll just move over to Jacqueline to also share her gender climate activity.
Okay, my camera's back on. Hi all. This is a gender and climate change activity that I put together for my learners. It was a comprehension passage that came from a travel magazine. And many of the learners in my school study travel and tourism. So I wanted to show them that the industry that they are studying for does not have to be limited to wanting to be just flight attendants or maybe working in offices, in a travel agency, or just being in jobs where they are stewardesses, maybe on a cruise. But I wanted to show them that there's so many more ideas on gender opportunities through this article, as it talks about the tourism industry. So some of the things the article brought up was how women are being empowered to have more representation as expedition leaders up to Mount Kilimanjaro, how they are now having mountain lioness scholarships to be able to enable women to graduate as mountain guides. People are advocating for more women-run safari camps. And even in East Africa now, we have one of the first all-women anti-poaching ranger academies. We have that here in South Africa as well. And we are so excited to show this to learners, that they have other opportunities, that this just doesn't have to be a male-dominated industry. But back to the climate change now. Now, climate change is also a big issue that's far more, pressing than just the industry itself, because it affects all of us, every gender, and all over the world. So I spoke about climate change, and I asked about the ripple effect of women. And this passage actually talked about how if you train women to know about climate change, you can actually create a ripple effect. Now, you know, if you throw a pebble into the water, you get ripples. It goes out further and further and further and spreads, and the effect of one stone on the water creates greater waves of change. And I wanted to share this with my learners. This article is up there, and the idea is to talk about the ripple effect of women. And this was one of the activities I did for the for my students, and I use this as a text B. You know, in English we have text A and text B, where they must compare the written text to a visual text. And through this exercise, I also taught them how to compare visuals and writing, but at the same time, I was able to show them the ripple effect of women in society. Now, so I'll just read through some of the things. Normally I would ask you to tell me in the chat what it's about, but we're running out of time here. So there actually are points like in the ripple effect of women. If we, the women improve health, because obviously if they have more women attend hospital, they are able to then they are more trusting of medical staff, and they would take their children and encourage other members of the family to go. Those that there's growing evidence that women create sustainable nations, because they show more corporations run by women are working on sustainability and empowering people instead of just working for the good of the benefit of now. They also believe that women can increase productivity, because every additional girl that goes to school can increase a country's gross national product by at least 20%. We even know that women can benefit families, because women are able to, evidence shows, studies have proven that women give more of their income to their families than males do. So there are so many different things, even the fact that women have a ripple effect on the economy. You train women in a certain sector, and in the workplace, you now have, you know, an increase in the workplace, increase in those that are paying taxes and contributing to the economy, and we now have a better, more stronger economy. I hope that this has helped you. I encourage you to keep teaching your learners about gender inclusivity and show them just how many opportunities are there available for them. My text was about the fact that women, especially who are taught, it was called Mothering Earth. The fact that if you teach a woman in a community how to, about climate change, about the issues that affect our world, she is more likely to teach her family about it, and then we are able to see the ripple effect of women in communities to be able to spread knowledge and share what they know, and eventually have a society that can beat climate change, poverty, and other greater issues, all through gender inclusivity. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks. I think yeah, you actually covered it very, very concisely. But we quickly move on to sharing with you the activity that Reem also has prepared. We've just dropped the link to the activity in the chat. But to quickly summarize the aim of the activity, it's really to develop, you know, the learners' use and understanding of gender inclusive nouns and pronouns in the topics of jobs, and really promote, you know, sort of talk about the gender stereotypes in the workplace, and basically promote gender balance and inclusivity. So that lesson plan has 5 stages, as you can see, and it really aims to encourage reflection, discussion in the classroom, and, you know, action to really foster gender equality in the workplace.